The experience, spelled with a capital E, the experience that has evolved for me, and one that I'm certain is not original with me, even though it is perhaps the original experience for all of us, strangely doesn't come with an energy or with a vocabulary to tell of it. The truth that has presented itself here has absolutely no consideration whatever of proselyting, of growing, of organizing, of kingdom building, of trying to convince others of its rightness as opposed to somebody else's idea. This joy, I don't know what to call it. The joy of understanding, maybe. It seems more like one's belated discovery of the light, the morning light. After wandering around in abject darkness, and then after the light is discovered, who in the world wants to sit down in some dim room somewhere to write of that discovery? Who can break away from the morning splendor long enough to tell of it like that? There's another thing. It's, you know how a hush comes over an audience just as the curtain rises? Well, exactly so, a hush descends on the heart of us when we look at the wonders of simple I amness, of simple being, that would, as far as time go, be something that we've only recently found. And when that happens, we're hardly disposed to go searching through the world of words to try to tell of it. Well, and there is, of course, that grand, exuberant song we sing when we find some measure of truth. We sing it because we can't help it, like a mockingbird singing on top of a pine tree, just singing. That exuberant song that is aimless and has no motive, that is done automatically. That capacity to do that comes to all of us with the discovery of truth, and it doesn't mean that we do it with words. It might well be that we do it with a smile, we do it with how we walk, we do it with a new view of the universe, we do it with holding a child's hand, or we do it with washing the dishes or taking care of a family, or we might do it in a poem or in a song. But I guess in simpler words, like Lao Tzu, all of us would prefer to just, once the truth is discerned and seen for the beauty and the wonder it is, we would prefer to lean against the fence post and enjoy the meandering rivers spread before us than to look away from it and to try to record it in the pages of a journal or to paint it on a canvas. Therefore, it seems to me, and I want to be careful how I say this, so please listen gently, that most of the books which purport to tell others how to arrive at the truth were not written out of this great special sacrifice of song singing like the mockingbird, but were, for the very largest part, written to establish an ego or to create and build a following, or to establish a a personal kingdom for oneself or to make money in the world. There are those who see something grand and then, like the lark, a wing, or the poet, filled with joy, simply sing it and write it and shout of it and tell the world of it. Now, I don't mean that those statements are the ones that are full of aim and motive. What I mean is that those statements are very seldom found because they are so seldom published. They're not popular. They're not commercial. They're not commercial because they aren't popular, and that's why they're not published. Even though the song they sing just may be the elixir the entire world seeks, and at least seems in these days, to need so desperately. There is no aim nor motive here at Woodsong. And those who come here know that. These communications are just songs of joy. Like the mockingbird song thrown out on the wind. They are a statement of all rightness, of God's all readiness. They are a statement of guiltlessness, a statement that everything is all right, the statement that God is here right now, and that God, Spirit, is all, and that there is nothing contrary, nothing opposing, nothing arguing. Yes, that everything is all right. Now, the message that comes to us like this, that says, I love you, that says, you're not guilty, that says, you've never made a mistake, that says, God is all in all right here, right now, this very moment, isn't a very scientific statement. It isn't a very intellectual statement, because there's very little human reason and logic behind it. And yet, right now I look outside Woodsong's window and I see a little baby squirrel out there nosing around. He's bearing nuts and he's preparing for the holiday season just like Rachel and I am. Now that little squirrel has never lived a winter. He's never lived the deprivation of cold and snow and ice. But he's out there scurrying around with all the rest of the squirrels and he's bearing nuts. Intellectually, what he's doing makes no sense. His reason and logic says, why, this is insane. It's some sort of a strange, something deep within, like a river within. And I'm doing it. Well, the squirrel is doing out of his knowing, and knowing out of his doing. And nowhere in all of that knowing and doing is there a book involved or a lot of words involved. There was an old Alabama black man who stretched forth his hand and he touched the face of a living, growing flower. And in that simplicity and humility that was his way, he said after that experience, or he wrote after that experience, when I touch that flower, I am touching infinity. It existed long before there were human beings on this earth and will continue to exist for the millions of years to come. through the flower I talk to the infinite, which is a silent force. Now this is not a physical contact. It is not in the earthquake, the wind, or the fire. It's in the invisible world. It's in that still small voice that calls up the fairies. The man who said that was George Washington Carver. He named his laboratory down here in Alabama, he called it God's Little Garden. And in that laboratory where so many wonders were performed, George Washington Carver never allowed a student to bring a book into it. And he never took a book into it himself. One might conclude that I'm disparaging the worth of books. Well, I haven't meant to do that at all. I believe that we all awaken one day to discover that while words and books are meaningful and important to us and have a rightful place in our affairs, the words which are most important are the ones we live by, the ones that proceed from our very own lips, and not the words of others.